Hi, I'm John Tickles, and welcome to Remote RPGs. Okay, that's enough. When's the Earthbound episode? I want to do one of my favorite RPGs of all time, so I'm doing it today. Welcome to episode 9, Earthbound for the Super... HOLD IT! Oh my god, it's... Pooh. I actually like to go by the name Poe, but that's not the point. Stop being a douchebag. Earthbound isn't remote. Every RPG gamer knows about it. But I really want to. No, that's enough. You've already pushed Luna, Grandia, and Persona 3 as remote. Do something actually rare this time. Besides, everybody and their mother has done an Earthbound review. Which brings me to another point. Stop ripping off 16-bit gems. But I love that show. It's my inspiration. Fine. But hold on a second. Using a video game character in a review to respond to criticism? You're ripping off the Happy Video Game Nerd's Nightshade review. You're ripping off a good ripoff. How do you even sleep at night? I don't sleep. I'm a Lego man. Okay, that's enough. No Earthbound. Do something no one else on YouTube has. Do a full review of Mother 1, aka Earthbound 0. If I do, will you leave me alone? Man, of course a guy named Pooh makes me feel like crap. You have my word, so make it so, number 1. Alright, fine, number 2. The next review is Mother, for the NES. The prequel to Earthbound, released in 1989 Japan on the Famicom, is the first installment of the Mother trilogy. The game was one of the first RPGs, aside from the insanely racist and future episode Tom Sawyer on the NES, to use a modern day setting, as here, baseball bats replaced swords, pizza replaced potions, and PSI powers replaced magic. Never released in America, the Nintendo and Ape collaboration, Mother, also known as Earthbound 0, has many familiar ties with Earthbound, while also being really different from its Super Nintendo counterpart. Of course, there's a lot to go over in the history section for this game, but no need to reinvent the wheel. Check out the history of Earthbound as told by Rue, from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, who describes the rich history of the game in glorious detail. I'll give you guys the abridged version of how the history of Mother goes. Renaissance man Shigesato Itoi wants to make a video game. He uses the name of a John Lennon song for the title. He makes the game in 1989 with the pretentious but valid slogan, Guaranteed Masterpiece, and it sells well in Japan. Yay, Shigesato! They say that those fat ignorant Americans should buy this game. America says, screw that, the only RPGs we want are the ones that blow shit up. Also, there was a lot of work that had to be done with the game, and by 1991, the NES is about to be retired because of the incoming Super Nintendo. So Nintendo says, screw Itoi's mother. Bill Sandhop, the lead English translator for Mother, is pissed because the whole game was already translated and redesigned for an American release. So, when he figures out that his work was basically wasted, he burns Nintendo of America to the ground, and went to Sega to give them the secrets of blast processing. Okay, that part didn't happen, but the game was fully translated and ready for America. Fast forward to 1995. Earthbound is released for the Super Nintendo, but America still doesn't care. Sadness. Now for 1998. Fan translation group and possible name of an 80s hair metal band, Demi-Force, gets their hands on a translated pre-production of a Mother cart, gets the ROM, and pre-releases it on the internet under the title Earthbound 0. Angels weep tears of joy, etc, etc. Okay, that's the gist of it. But still, go watch the 16-bit gem version, the link in the description below. The last thing I have to get out of the way before we actually play this is that I have to play this game on an emulator. I am using an emulator. Man, I'll never meet the Commodore. You start out in typical Mother style by naming everything something inappropriate and saying your favorite food is pussy. You prick, the last thing I want to think about is mother and pussy in the same sentence. Ugh. Anyway, you're introduced to a story about a young couple named George and Maria who go missing. I almost forgot to mention, they live
in America.
After the mysterious disappearance, George mysteriously reappears a few years later, suddenly quiet, and lives the rest of his days alone studying unknown things. And Maria was never seen again. Yep, that seems totally not suspicious at all. I bet everybody believes good old George.
Right! I don't believe you.
Seriously, the police just accepted that the wife was missing and this guy's acting really suspicious. They suck. Well, the Earthbound police force decided to gang up on a 12-year-old and lost, so I can't imagine these ones being much more competent. Anyway, the game opens with your main character, Ninten. Oh my god, Nintendo. You guys are so damn punny. Ninten, NES. Oh yeah, all laughs over here. You started the game by getting attacked by your lamp, which sets the quirky mood of the game, and it's just an awesome way to start your quest. You stop the paranormal activity and discover your hidden powers known as PSI. After finding your late grandfather's diary, your deadbeat father demands that you go on a quest, where you eventually collect 8 melodies with several companions and save the world from a familiar alien threat. The story in the game is actually really interesting, and there's a lot of twists and interesting moments towards the end that were pretty rare for an NES game. It's also pretty dark in some areas, though nowhere near as tear-jerking as its sequels. However, in the end, it's a simple game with a lot of quirks, and it's not as timeless as its sequels, but it still packs a few tricks of its own. The characters in this musical quest are, obviously, Ninten, the silent 12-year-old protagonist, Lloyd, a nerd without PSI who's teased for being a weakling at his school, Anna, the soft-spoken love interest with offensive PSI, and Teddy, the character who should probably be in The Outsiders, as a slick and violent gang leader. Obviously, these characters are extremely similar to your foursome from Earthbound, which makes sense, as the sequel was kind of like a retelling of the original. Those are the main characters, and they don't have much in terms of characterization or development because, come on, this is an NES game, so it's forgivable. I mean, at least they managed to be memorable. There are a lot of small interactions between your characters, probably even a little more than Earthbound. But in that vein, this is your adventure. So you're putting yourself in Nintendo's shoes and kicking alien ass. So the lack of character works pretty well here too. I should also mention that you never have more than 3 controllable party members in your group, but I won't spoil how the game chooses to do this. Earthbound Zero carries all traditional NES role-playing elements into this new world, as you make your way from town to town, talking to people, getting the quest items, and kicking the crap out of hippies and vehicles. However, a la Earthbound, if a character is sick or dead-ish, then you bring them to a hospital. You buy your equipment at the local drugstore and get money from your dad, who shows no second thought when handing thousands of dollars over to his 12-year-old son. The modern setting is part of what makes the Mother series what it is, and the first installment of the series establishes this feature pretty well. The world is also pretty big and varied for an NES game. You really go everywhere, like from a haunted house to the desert, a winter valley, and Mount Etoy. Oh man, it's really amazing how humble this man is.
Stop looking at yourself.
But seriously, you have every right to. You're my hero. You also visit Magicant, yet another thing from Earthbound that you might find familiar, except this time it's a fabrication of someone else's dream that you get to explore. So about 20 years before Christopher Nolan made it happen, Etoy had it done. Inception! Whoa. However, with such a big map, without a guiding overworld, there's some tough navigation in this game, as you'll have to manage your items and equipment well to be successful in this long journey. This is also punctuated by the fact that you don't have to collect every melody in a certain checkpoint in order to progress through the game, meaning that if you don't check everything carefully, by the end of the game, the only melody you'll have is John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds. It's probably a good idea to use a walkthrough to navigate, as a where the hell do I go feeling will definitely come up once in a while. Also, I never did like the menus in the Mother series. Pressing A in front of something should mean I interact with it, and that's all. Don't give me all these checks and options. Come on, you guys know it's a little clunky, and tries to handle too much in order to please everybody, but in the end, it's just kind of awkward. But that doesn't mean you won't enjoy the quest either. There's still a lot to see and do, and true to Mother form, the game has some great humor, though not nearly as strong as its sequels. Still, for a 1989, the witty script has more than impressive dialogue, as the game keeps the player wanting more for 20 hours or so. I'll also mention that there's some big changes in the American version of Mother compared to its Japanese counterpart, including a hugely redone and bigger ending, removed blood, and a run feature. When I said Earthbound Zero carries over many elements of traditional NES RPGs, this unfortunately applies to the battle system. The game requires a terrible amount of grinding, and an encounter rate which can only be described as, "Are you kidding me, you bad?" This is one tough mother, if you know what I'm saying. But for all the wrong reasons. It's a traditional Final Fantasy battle system, but it's also just as unforgiving, if not more so. And it breaks one of the unforgivable good RPG laws. If you kill an enemy, and another character attacks the now deceased enemy, he swats at the air. What does he even see there? Are you kidding me? Why is he ignoring the bloodthirsty creature right next to him? I couldn't see the average American gamer touching this game with a 10-foot pole in 1991, all things considered. No crying at the end? Fuck, I guarantee people would be crying all the way through. However, there is a one saving grace for those of us not wishing to grind our teeth into gums. There is an easy patch. Yes, in the holy land of Earthboundom, known as Starman.net, they provide a patched ROM of the game, which both doubles experience and money. I know it sounds like it makes the game too easy, but trust me, you still have to grind a little, and it's kind of a challenge still. Just save your sanity. Play this version.
A message from the Government of Canada.
So how are these graphics? Well, the backgrounds are now done, and I can generally tell what I'm looking at. Generally, the sprites look good for the NES, and the enemy design is detailed and varied as well. However, the game obviously shows its age, and I might be spoiled as a modern gamer, but I would have liked some bolder colors. But, overall, a good looking NES game for a 1989. The music is what really stands out, and really sets the stage for the music of the rest of the series. The game is constantly spewing out familiar tunes or well-timed melodies, and it's pretty impressive because it still holds out today. My favorites include the 8 melodies, Pollyanna, and the Youngtown theme, but the real sleeper hit here is Falling in Love or Falling in Love. Whatever. It's just a beautiful piece, and my pick for the most underrated song in NES history. Mother's soundtrack was composed by Keiichi Suzuki and Hirokazu Tanaka, who also worked on the sequel, and did a damn good job here. It's a complete soundtrack that's mostly pop and rock, rather than the symphonic tunes from Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy. It's pretty memorable and catchy stuff, but the most awesome part is hearing the modern renditions in games like Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So when it comes down to it, is Earthbound Zero a must-play? Well, if you're an Earthbound or Mother 3 fan, then it's definitely worth your time. However, if you're not a Mother fan, well, first, God have mercy on your soul. And also, you might not enjoy this game as much. Don't get me wrong, it's solid, but half the fun comes from seeing the origins of themes in the Mother series. I've mentioned many times that it's definitely not as good as its sequels, and it's clearly a little dated. But it's a solid RPG that has my respect for making Mother 2 and 3 a reality. Well, that's it. Are you happy, Pooh? Pretty weak. I liked your Suikoden review better. Oh, shut up. You're not even real. Wait, how can you talk? And why do you sound like a fake, terrible Sean Connery ripoff of me? This must be a dream. Okay, wait. I'll check my special item. Haha, I knew it. Okay, just gotta... Auntie M, I had the most terrifying dream. Something about Sean Connery with my mother.
Good morning, John.
What?
What a twist!